sovereignness instead of Vashti. And the word pleased the sovereign, and he did so. In the citadel of Shushan there was a certain man, a Yehudi, whose name was Mordecai, son of Yair, son of Shimi, son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been exiled from Yerushalayim with the captives who had been exiled with Jeconiah, sovereign of Yehuda, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, had exiled. And it came to be that he was raising Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. The young woman was beautiful and of good appearance, and when her father and mother died, Mordecai took her as his own daughter. And it came to be, when the sovereign's command and decree were heard, and when many young women were gathered at the citadel of Shushan into the hand of Haggai, that Esther too was taken to the sovereign's palace into the hand of Haggai, guardian of the women. And the young women pleased him, and she received loving commitment from him. So he hastened to give her preparations and her portions, and give her 7 choice female servants from the sovereign's palace. And he moved her and her female servants to the best place in the house of the women. Esther had not made known her people or her relatives, for Mordecai had commanded her not to make it known. And every day Mordecai walked about in front of the courtyard of the women's quarters to learn of Esther's welfare and what is done to her. Now when the turn of each young woman came to go into sovereign Ahasuerus, after she had completed 12 new moons, according to the regulations for the women, for the days of their preparation were completed as follows: 6 new moons with oil of myrrh, and 6 new moons with perfumes, and with the preparations of women. Thus prepared, the young women went to the sovereign, and whatever she asked for was given to take with her from the house of the women to the sovereign's palace. In the evening she went, and in the morning she returned to the second house of the women, into the hand of Shah-Ashgaz, the sovereign's eunuch, guardian of the concubines. She would not come into the sovereign again unless the sovereign delighted in her and called for her by name. And when the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his daughter, to come into the sovereign, she sought no matter, but what Haggai, the sovereign's eunuch, guardian of the women, advised. And Esther found favor in the eyes of all who saw her. And Esther had taken to sovereign Ahasuerus into his royal palace in the 10th new moon, which is the new moon of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the sovereign loved Esther more than all the women, and she found favor and love and commitment in his eyes more than all the maidens. And he set the royal crown upon her head, and made her sovereigness instead of Vashti. And the sovereign made a great feast, the feast of Esther, for all his officials and servants. And he proclaimed a release in the provinces, and gave gifts according to the means of a sovereign. And when maidens were assembled a second time, Mordecai sat within the sovereign's gate. Esther had not made known her relatives and her people yet, as Mordecai commanded her, for Esther obeyed the command of Mordecai, as when she was being raised by him. In those days, while Mordecai sat within the sovereign's gate, 2 of the sovereign's eunuchs, Bigdan and Teresh, doorkeepers, were wroth and sought to lay hands on sovereign Ahasuerus. And the matter became known to Mordecai, who informed sovereigness Esther. And Esther spoke to the sovereign in Mordecai's name. And when the matter was searched into, it was confirmed, and both were hanged on a wooden structure. And it was written in the book of the annals in the presence of the sovereign.